Hello, Flosstube. I have something in my mouth. That's weird. Okay, let's try this again. Hello, Flosstube. And since I don't edit, you'll get both hellos. April has been crazy. Welcome to the first week of May when it is snowing in Utah. And I can insert a picture here of my Jeep covered in snow. So, this month we hit 500 subscribers, which is cool. Thank you everyone who subscribed. And I am not centered in the picture. Okay. Got a new haircut. I am not positive I like the fringe. What do you think? Yes fringe, no fringe, bangs in the US. I'm not sure I like them. It's different. I have not had a fringe since I was like 8. So it's just kind of weird. Okay, so April. Started the month with 34 whips. I am now down to 30 whips. We had 2 finishes and 2 that I retired. When I say retired, I have a UFO list, but they're not really UFOs. They're just things that I will work on someday. I took 2 of my Teresa Wentzlers and my lipstick's messed up. That's better. I took 2 of the Teresa Wentzlers and said, okay, you know what? I am not going to work on spring carousel horse, and I'm not going to work on fall carousel horse until I finish summer carousel horse. So when I finish summer carousel horse, I will pull one of the other carousel horses back into rotation, which with those 2 out of rotation, that cuts me down to 30 whips, and we're closer to the goal of 24 and 24. So let's start with stuff that I finished this month. On Cherub Pink Linen from Shepherd's Bush, we have the Year in Stitches. This is May. That's because I showed you April last time. But I did finish April in April. I have already finished May for the start of May. I sound like I'm talking through my nose, and I don't know why. Sorry, guys. Hopefully that improves. Oh, sounds better on my end anyway. So here is May for the Year in Stitches. And I also finished Diamond Bouquet. Where did that string come from? Diamond Bouquet was a Just Nan class that when Stitch and Station shut down, they could not sell the Just Nan class projects. So with a very large purchase, she gave me a couple of the Just Nan projects that she could not sell. And she said it was a reward for the amount that I purchased there. So there is Diamond Bouquet. And I was trying to figure out where I was going to put my initials. So I put the year and my initials down at the bottom on either corner. There's the Just Nan, not Just Nan, Shepherd's Bush, the pattern for May. And then the 2 other finishes I had in April were Bobbin, which is the Stacy Nash mouse that came out at market. And the other one was my Noah's sub. Yes, I know you want to see Noah's sub after all the work that I put into it, but I've already dropped it off at Jill Rensel's. So Noah's sub is up getting framed, and we'll see it in 2 years. But one of the reasons that I dropped it off at Jill Rensel was I got a phone call saying, hey, a bunch of the stuff you sent up to me is done. So I just barely dropped this one off, but it was a simple frame. Didn't have to do anything. I asked her something that reminded me of something that would remind me of the Finnish flag. So this is the blue that is in the Finnish flag. So there is my Hyvä joulua ristipisto. So cross stitch in Finland is known as ristipisto. So there is my ristipisto kit. I actually ordered that from a European designer who only ships within the EU. And my parents have a lease on a piece of property in Finland. So I had her ship it to my parents' Finnish address, and then they brought the kit home to me. One of the other pieces I got back was If Cats Could Talk. And this is a housewarming present for a coworker who is currently in Europe. And when she gets back, we're going to touch base and I will give her her housewarming present. Then my Just Nan, one of my Just Nan pieces. So this is the pattern for one of the haunted tins, the needle tin. Is that needle tin around? I think it's downstairs instead of up here. Anyway, I stitched the pattern for the needle tin on a different piece. In the tin, it lays like this, but Jill framed it like this, so it kind of looks like the ghost is peeking out from an old tree instead of a rotting log. Here's the rotting log. Here it's more of a tree, a haunted tree. Then last year in San Antonio, I stitched this. Actually, was this San Antonio or was this Casper? I don't remember. It was either Casper or San Antonio. This was a retreat piece. I want to say this was San Antonio because I ended up giving the pattern and some silk to somebody. So anyway, at one of the retreats I went to last year, I stitched this, gave away the pattern. It's an ink circles pattern. I gave away it's stitched with Silks for You. So that is Silks for You silk. And it was an ink circles pattern, and I gave it to somebody at the retreat that I finished that at. This is a Mill Hill kit. Enchanted Pumpkin, I believe. Jill Rensel has a free frame bin in her studio. So these are all out of the free frame bin. So that's out of the free frame bin. And Gingham Bouquet. That's also a Just Nan kit. And these are the gingham is supposed to be 12 strands by 12 strands. One of those is 12 by 13, and it drove me absolutely freaking crazy when I was stitching it, that one of them was one strand off and it threw the whole thing off. And then also out of the free frame bin, my Just Nan Noah's Ark. The giraffe was crooked there. So I still have one set of animals if I wanted to repeat that pattern. So that is all the framing I picked up. And what did I work on? Okay, whips for last month. there was the April Year in Stitches that you've already seen, that I showed in the last video, but didn't show this one. Noah's Sub. I also worked on Frightmare House. That's upside down. I worked on Frightmare House, and I actually got around to reading the instructions instead of just following the diagram. It says to put 16 spaces between these, although the diagram shows the same, shows them like 6. So I have no idea what I'm going to do with this side, because those are too close together, and it's going to be really interesting to see how to stitch those together. But I did put the spacing correctly on the other side. So if anybody has any suggestions that doesn't involve me restitching all of these, anyone who has any suggestions for finishing those without restitching them, where I'm only going to have a few stitches. I mean, I could handle unpicking this and doing this one over, but unpicking all this to go up a couple rows, I don't know. If anybody has any suggestions on how I can finish that, having put those so close together, because I'm pretty sure that that's only a 1/4 inch between them. And I know I'm probably going to have to assemble it by hand, but that's going to be interesting to see. Then I also did some work on Storied Steeds. We got the hippogriff almost done. Actually, okay, he just needs back stitching. The hippogriff is done. I still need to do the mane on the Kelpie here. And then we have 3 more horses and the frame, and that will be done. I put quite a few stitches into the West Point sampler. See, the bottom box is almost done, and then we have the chapel and back stitching, and then that one will be done, and then I can give it back to my sister and obligation over. I put in 1,000 Stitchers in Secret Carousel. We're actually doing some colors that are not 939. A few colors up here that are not 939. And as we get into this section, we'll actually have real color here instead of just 939. I finished the first book in Kingdom of Books. The green book is now completely finished. I've completed the upper section of those books, so the second page finish would be right in here. And I figured if I stitch 800 stitches a month, I will have this page finish in December. So we'll see on that. Diamond Bouquet, you already saw. Bobbin has already been turned back into Stitchery Express because it was a shop model. I stitched on Fortunate Traveler, and I will put a picture of it at the end because I'm not bringing my floor stand up here. I'm not taking it off the floor stand to bring up here. I have multiple areas in my house where I stitch, so we're going to digress for a bit. So this is the stash room, and I filmed from the stash room. These are books. I have my kitted up ready to go on this side. My display with all of my specialty floss is there. The DMC and Anchor do not live in this room. They actually live in a filing cabinet in my office, and I can put a picture at the end of what that looks like. I have moved from stitching in bags. I used to keep all my floss with each project in a stitching bag. Well, in a little, it was like a floss away bag, but it only had 1 hole in it instead of 2. So I had little plastic baggies. And, you know, just over the years, the plastic, as slow as I am when it comes to finishing projects, the plastic gets really yucky and kind of gross. So I've kind of moved to floss drops. And we'll see how that goes. And who knows, in a couple of years, we'll have something new. So, okay, year in stitches, April. Oh, we'll show April again. There is April. There's April. The little chicks. Okay, so year in stitches, Noah's Sub, Frightmare House, Secret Carousel, Kingdom of Books, West Point Sampler, Storage Seeds, Diamond Bouquet, Fortune Traveler, and Bobbin. Bobbin was my only start in April, and it was a start and a finish. It's only 1,256 stitches. Did it in a weekend. So, stats. Okay, for the numbers nerds, you know, my kids keep saying, Mom, spreadsheets are your hobby. Stitching is just data. I worked on 10 projects. I had 10,721 stitches, which I know for you fast stitchers, that's nothing. But that is a good month for me. That is a really good month for me. I averaged 357 stitches per day with a max of 850 stitches and a minimum of 50 stitches. And my medium was 328. 18.2% of the month was spent on Noah's Sub. 12.1% of the stitches went into Bobbin. And 11.6% of my stitches went into the West Point Sampler. So, haul. Let's go over haul. I got the last of my hometown holidays. I now have all the hometown holidays. See, I have them all 24. And I also have Jingle All the Way. But I have pretty much a bolt of this mystery blue fabric. It is a 28 count of some sort. And it looks really green in the light today. I've got a bulb out. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, this looks really green today. This whole room today looks yellow. But this is actually a blue. Can you get it close enough to look blue? No. Anyway. So there is enough here if I want to do them individually or in a group or however I want to do them. I could even do like put Jingle All the Way in the middle and set them around them so that it's a town. I haven't decided. And considering that I have got lots and lots of stuff to start, and I don't quite know how I'm going to start that one, we'll see what happens. So I ran into Spiral when I was up at Shepherd's Bush, and I just fell in love with that Tree of Life. And I got thinking, I really want to stitch that. And I will probably use a Silks For You silk, but I don't know what fabric I'm doing it on yet. This is why I have things kitted up for 10 years. I got the second log cabin, but I got the second in the log cabin Christmas. The log cabin bunnies. That's the series. I can get it without the glare. The first one was the squirrels. I did get the thread pack. And I'm very happy that they are Classic Colorworks. I love working with Classic Colorworks. I just like the feel of them. I like how they feel going through my hands and through the fabric. I picked up Glendon Place's Gingerbread Grove. I thought that was so cool. And I have a Bestitched Me blue fabric that I got in the Christmas kit one year that I thought that would be perfect. Excuse me, Bestitched Me does not do a Christmas kit. It's the solstice kit. So, but I have a blue that I thought would be just perfect for that. And then on eBay, I found a copy of Batty Boris. This is one of those Just Nan outer prints that is hard to find, but I found it. I also, since patterns can't travel alone, I had the same seller had Holly Berry Snowflakes, and I did not have that one, so now I have that one. I know those frames will be next to impossible to find, but I'm sure I'll find something. I mean, they're 2 inches by 2 inches. I'm sure there's something somewhere. And then I found this. Is that not just adorable? And there is actually a Christmas tree that you could put in the center of that is considered the bonus pattern. So the gingerbread row, I was thinking I would put the Christmas tree right here in the center and then do the gingerbread on either side. And I found a piece of fabric for it when I picked it up. So there's my fabric for it. And then we mentioned Bobbin. I had so much fun doing Bobbin that I picked up the other two in the Animal Crackers series. So here's Maggie May by Stacy Nash and Miss Hazel. I also like that little heart that comes with Miss Hazel. So I'll probably end up stitching both Miss Hazel and the heart. And because Bobbin was a shop model, I have to restitch Bobbin for my copy. And then I don't know if you've seen the Erin Elizabeth the Erin Elizabeth tiers. I liked the stitchy tier. There's a patriotic tier, there's a cookie tier, there's a desserts tier. There are so many fun tiers, but I just thought this stitchy tier was so much fun. That one would be a fun one to stitch. And you're like, okay, Stasha, is that it? No. There is one more. So, I am going to the Casper retreat, and the announced designer for Crazy Woman Retreat in Casper this year is Counting Puddles. So I picked up this Counting Puddles pattern because I didn't have any for patterns, and I thought those would be really cute to stitch. And then I could fix one. I could stitch one up as my smalls exchange. But you know me. Don't want to show the pattern, but they're all stitched in either 927 or B5200. But since the pattern is just a place to start, because like, when have I ever done a pattern exactly the way it says? I picked up Krynick. Doug Krynick retired, and Krynick has been purchased by Rainbow Galleries. The equipment for Kreinik manufacturing is currently on its way to California as we speak, unless it may have already arrived there. But they announced that Kreinik would be out of production for about a month. But I picked up some 032 because everybody has 032, right? I thought that the white parts would be really cool in 032. And then for the parts that are done by 927, oh, by the way, there's my fabric for it. This is a fabric flare, 28 count. Cindy, I'm sorry, I forgot what it's called. But it's got snowflakes and it's blue, kind of blue-gray. It's really cool. I thought that would be cool. But I got Water Lilies Ice, Dinky Dyes Robin's Egg, I thought both of those would look really pretty with the Kreinik. And those would make pretty snowflakes. And while I was looking for just the right silk, I found this. I had no idea that Kreinik had done a French silk set. So I bought the blue silk, French silk set. I don't know if I'll end up using those for the snowflakes. At the moment, I'm thinking, I kind of like just having this closed. And I may just display this on the rack. Okay, so that is my haul. And since we hit the magic 500, which is halfway to 1,000, I'm still under 1,000 subscribers. But honestly, guys, I'm having fun. And I forgot to say welcome to Stitch and Crime. I just said, hello, Flosstube. I don't think I even said my name is Stasha. So anyway, this is Stasha with Stitch and Crime. I figured that 500 is a great milestone. We should give some things away. So we have this. Isn't he majestic? If you would like to be considered for the tiger, leave a comment with the word tiger in it. I also have this one to give away. This is Lone Elm Lane, Grateful Hands. It is a beautiful sampler. Apparently it fits a Quaker box. These letters which you now behold were stitched with grateful hands. When many years away have rolled, the love sewed in shall stand. So it fits a wooden, it is framed in the top of a Lone Elm Lane maple box made in our wood shop. I'm sure it would probably fit other boxes if you have another box. If you are interested in Grateful Hands, use the word grateful in your comment. The other one we have is Teresa Koget's Fractor. And for this one, if you will use the word birds. I am not mean enough to make you try and use fractor in a sentence. But if you will use the word birds. And then on the first Sunday in June, when I film again, we will give those away and ask for addresses. So we've done the giveaway. Shh, I'm not supposed to use the word giveaway. We've done the rewards for hitting 500 subscribers. So, plans for May. It is Mania, and I am trying to put 300 stitches in all of my active whips, which, remember, I just said it was 30 whips. So, we have 30 whips to touch. I also this month, there were 3 numbers drawn for WhipGo. The first number is my anniversary roses, which is a very large sampler. It's all rolled up. So 1,000 stitches into anniversary roses. There are only 4 pages left to finish anniversary roses. You would think that I could have finished 4 pages in the last 4 years. The next WhipGo number was 19, which is anniversary roses was number 5. Class schedule. Well, no. Then they drew 13, which is Just Nan, closest to being finished, which in my case is Frightmare House. So 1,000 stitches into Frightmare House. And then because 13 is also the free square, a third number was drawn, and that was number 19, which in my case is class schedule. I don't know, do you think 1,000 stitches would finish this? This is Armada Designs class schedule. I've only got 3 squares. Well, no, okay. I've finished all the squares. There are only 5 empty squares. And there's not a lot of stuff in each square. Oh, okay, I remember there was one square that said, be careful, don't stitch ahead. That's because this one has a break right here. So, who knows? 1,000 stitches, maybe this one will be finished. So, I told you I have 30 projects. I'm trying to cut down to 24. The absolute closest to being completed is what I consider my purse project. Everybody has a purse project, right? ABC, always bring cross stitch. So when I was on vacation one year, my husband and I visited a national park, and they had this cross stitch kit in it. And I hadn't brought any cross stitch with me on the trip because my husband was like, I want you to take a break from everything. I'm like, okay. Well, 3 days in, he's like, you didn't bring any stitching. Why are you? It's like, no, you told me to take a break from everything. So anyway, yeah, I ended up buying this cross stitch kit when I was on vacation. And it lives in my purse, so that when I'm stuck at doctor's appointments or on the train or something, I can work on it. The sad thing is I have not worked on it in years. It's sat in my purse, and then I play on my phone when I get places instead of actually getting my cross stitch out and stitching. Because you never know how long you're going to be waiting. Do you want to actually get something out? But I am at the point now where it's mainly just fill in. The design is stitched. All I have to do is fill in the blanks. So the question is, do I leave this as a purse project and actually start stitching on it when I'm in places instead of playing on my phone? Or do I just sit down one night and just knock this puppy out? And no, what would you do? What would you do if this was your project and you were like, I am so done with this. I need it to be finished. Would you just stitch on it at home, or would you leave it as a purse project? How would you do it? Okay. You'll get to see a lot of projects next month because I will have touched all my whips. Okay, so that is the stitching portion of everything. Okay, now for the portion that we know the rest of you are here for. Those of you that are done with the stitching, bye, have fun. There will be some pictures at the end. You can just fast forward until you see the pictures. However, for those that are here for the true crime, oh my gosh, here's the nose itch part. It's been itching all the time. But okay. There have been some really interesting things in Utah this month. And we ended the end of April with April 24th, Ann Lorenzo, who was confirmed as an employee in Sean Reyes, the Utah Attorney General's office, was arrested on sexual assault and battery of a minor. Well, she thought the girl was a minor. Turns out the young woman was actually 19, so she's not charged with assault of a minor. She's just charged with sexual assault. So what happened, according to all the TikTok videos, is Ann Lorenzo walked up to a group of girls and claimed that one of them was flashing all the young children. There was one 10-year-old girl in the restaurant. And Ann Lorenzo walked up to this girl and pulled on her skirt in order to tug the hemline down. Okay, in what world is it okay to walk up to somebody and start tugging on their clothes without talking to them, without saying anything? Just walk up and tug on a girl's skirt. I mean, literally just pull down on a girl's skirt. And the girl claims that Lorenzo touched her when she did that. As in, not just the skirt, touched her. And Lorenzo's like, well, I could see her pubic hair and her ass cheeks. On the video, you hear her say that she could see her butt cheeks. The young woman in question is like, look at the video. I was wearing shorts underneath my skirt. She was not seeing any hair. She was not seeing my butt. This woman is just nuts. So anyway, going up and grabbing somebody's skirt and pulling it down is actually considered sexual assault and battery in Utah. So Ann Lorenzo, who at one time, at least until she was arrested, worked for the Attorney General's office of the state of Utah. And let's face it, Sean Reyes has enough issues with his association with Mr. Ballard of the sexual assault fame, that he seems to have a problem with sexual assault in his office. Sean Reyes, by the way, is not running for re-election. So anyway, that's how we ended the month of April. Also, on the same day that Ann Lorenzo was arrested, there was an explosion in Holiday, Utah. Holiday, Utah is like a couple miles from my house. So what happened? Only in Utah, people. Only in Utah. No, I take that back. This could happen anywhere in the South, actually, as well. So, an older lady was cleaning the house after her husband passed away. And she located some dynamite that her husband inherited, that had been passed down through several generations. and stored on her property. The person that she asked her to help her with it took one look at it and said, that's unstable. They found in a shed outside, there were 25 sticks of dynamite. Several of them were sweating. And there were 8 sticks of dynamite in the basement of the house, stored with some chemicals. Anyway, the city of Holiday the bomb squad decided it was not going to be safe to try and remove the dynamite, so they were going to blow it in place. They evacuated several homes around the house. This poor widow lady was able, she evacuated as much as she could, but she didn't get everything out of her house. The house was completely destroyed when the bomb squad blew it in place. And not only was her house completely destroyed, 7 neighboring houses were severely damaged. And officially, it's only the 7 neighboring houses, but there are houses up to a mile away where people are like, I've got plaster falling off my walls. I've had windows blown out. My RV windows were blown out. My car was damaged. The blast radius is a lot larger than Holiday City is stating. So now it becomes a question of liability. Who's responsible for all the damage? Is it the city for exploding it in place and, it wasn't safe to move it because it was sweating? Is it the widow and her homeowner's insurance that's responsible? Because I'm willing to bet her homeowner's insurance isn't going to cover much, because they probably have an exclusion for storing dynamite in your house. Homeowners insurance for the houses, for the neighboring houses that were damaged, it's not an act of vandalism. It's a government action. Most government actions are excluded under your homeowner's policy. So who's on the hook for the damage? I get the feeling it's going to end up being the taxpayers of Utah, or at least the taxpayers of Holiday. The city has set up a way for people to file claims. And moving up to Idaho, the Daybell Trial the Chad Daybell Trial has been going on since April Fool's Day. Isn't that just fitting to start jury selection on April Fool's Day? So, some of the things that have been really interesting is Chad's attorney keeps asking questions. Well, does the LDS Church believe this? Does the LDS Church believe this? And the prosecution keeps saying, relevance? Objection, Your Honor, relevance. And there have been at least 3 times now that Chad has answered the relevance question with, oh, I'm just curious. And I'm like, we could probably speed this trial up a little bit if somebody sent Mormon missionaries over to John Pryor's office and explained to him what the LDS Church believes, so that he wouldn't have to get up on the stand and cross-examine witnesses saying, so does the LDS Church believe? And just, it's Chad Daybell on trial, not the LDS Church. Chad Daybell has been excommunicated from the LDS Church for teaching stuff that was against LDS Church doctrine. So why does it even matter? If you want to listen to some of the testimony, Nate Eaton of East Idaho News has done a great job of carving out some of the testimony. Pretty Lies and Alibis has done a pretty good job of doing that too. Two of the ones that would be really good to listen to are Heather Daybell, which is Chad's sister-in-law. And Chad does not like her. The sad thing is if you listen to some of Heather Daybell's interviews prior to the trial, she was trying to tell people that Chad has gone off the rails and you really need to talk to him, and nobody listened to her because, oh dear thing, you're just a woman, you wouldn't understand. And I hate that attitude in any religion, and you see it in a lot of them, not just the LDS Church. Another good one to understand it is Melanie and Ian Pulowski. So throughout this whole trial, John Pryor has been trying to pin the whole thing on Melanie Gibb, and has been trying to say, well, Melanie Gibb was. Now, did you learn this from Melanie Gibb? And Ian Pulowski's audio recordings of, oh, Melanie's left the group, Melanie's talking to the police, Melanie's betraying us. If Chad is still under the belief that Melanie betrayed the group and Melanie left the group, then that explains why he's so mad. I also think part of it was he wasn't able to get into her pants, because Heather basically said that Chad was using his, well, you know, in a past life we were married, to get into other women's pants, not just Lori's. Okay. Oh, and when you get into the Elena and Storm bit, watch out for the storm. Anybody who's familiar with the Daybell term of the storm is probably laughing right now. But anyway, the audio recordings that Ian Pulowski made, it kind of explains why Chad is so mad at David Warwick and Melanie Gibb. The other one I listened to really good was today, and that was Zulema Pastenis. And Zulema basically, if Zulema's telling the truth, then Melanie Gibb and Melanie Pulowski both lied on the stand. So that's going to be interesting. So, and it's the other thing that's really interesting about Zulema Pastenis is John Pryor has just been really bullying and mean and talking over people whenever he cross-examines people. With Zulema, he's treating her like a 5-year-old child, and everybody's treating her like she's kind of simple. But then John Pryor turns around and says, during your testimony, you said that you didn't have any skills that would be of value. You didn't feel you could get a job in Rexburg. What are your professional skills? And Zulema says, oh, well, I was the manager of a customer service department for an insurance company. I currently teach and the learning specialist for teaching disabled children. Basically, the careers she's had are not something that a dim woman does. I mean, these are serious careers. And I'm almost wondering, did Pryor shoot himself in the foot doing that? Because everybody was treating Zulema like she is just this simple, gullible, poor little child. I mean, even the way John Pryor was cross-examining her, he was being very calm, very, very patient with her, wasn't speaking over her with the way he did with everybody else. And the way everybody's treating her, it's like, you know, there are so many disabled people this disabled children involved. Is she disabled too? And I don't mean to say that to sound ableist or at all, but just the way that everybody's treating her with kid gloves. And then Pryor brings up that, no, this woman is quite capable. She may be gullible. She may believe a lot of weird stuff. She may have fallen for every hook, line, and sinker for every single thing Chad told her to do, including marrying Alex Cox. I mean, when Chad's like, the two of you should get married, so let's go to Vegas and get married. I'm sorry. I can't imagine somebody assigning a husband to me. That just blows my mind. But she's like, okay, let's go get married. And it's like, and then to turn around, I was like, no, she's not an idiot. So, I don't know. Maybe if you work in customer service and know your manager and go, well, maybe she is. But I don't know. She doesn't seem to be that type of person. She comes across on the stand as very simple and very gullible. And then to have John Pryor turn around and point out that she's not stupid just makes you think, was Chad really that persuasive that he could get smart women? And then the other thing that John's keeps asking about is the Seven Gatherers. Are you part of the Seven Gatherers? Are you part of the Seven Gatherers? Now, earlier on, we were guessing that, the Seven Gatherers were Chad and Alex. And no, the Seven Gatherers was a group of women that were Lori's circle of friends. And they brought up 3 names that I have not heard at all in this trial. They brought up Christina, Serena, and Nicole. And those 3 women, I don't think in everything, all the Dateline, all the 48 Hours, the Doomsday Mommy series, I don't remember if it was Netflix or who did it, but the Doomsday Mommy micro serial, I don't think I've heard those 3 names until today. So I went looking for those 3 names in association with Daybell, and I found a new podcast that I had never seen before on Audacity. It's also on Audible, but it's called Afterglow, Unveiling the Idaho Cult. So apparently one of their episodes has an interview with Nicole and Christina. So I am going to listen to that podcast after the trial's over, or in between when I run out of trial. So last time, actually two videos ago, I said I would try and find out about what happened to Blaze Thibaudeau. What happened to Blaze Thibaudeau's mother. So if you'll remember, in last October 2023, Blaze Thibaudeau was kidnapped by his mother, his sister, and his uncle. Guess where they live? Arizona, Maricopa County. So Blaze was kidnapped from school. His mother did not have custody of him. His father, Ben, had custody. But Spring Thibaudeau, his uncle Brooke, and his sister, I don't remember his sister's first name, last name was Snar. Anyway, they kidnapped him because supposedly Blaze was a Davidic servant who is going to help bring in the end times. And they were kidnapping him to help him understand his place in the prophecies. Right. Okay. So anyway, they flew to Idaho. They got a car in Idaho. They crossed the Canadian border and they were apprehended in Alaska. Blaze was returned to his father, and the last I had heard was December 28th. Spring, Brooke, and the sister had pled not guilty to custodial interference charges. And I learned this week, how to find Arizona court documents. So we have the latest filing for Spring Thibaudeau. It is ordered. Okay, wait. 242, court reconvenes with the respective counsel and defendant present. A record of the proceedings is made digitally in lieu of a court reporter. This is the time set for change of plea. Remember, she pled not guilty. The court reviews the plea agreement with the defendant. The court advises the defendant the range of possible sentence and the availability of probation, and any special conditions of sentencing and probation. The court advises defendant of all pertinent constitutional rights and rights of review. Defendant enters a plea of guilty to the following. So she changed her not guilty plea to guilty with a plea deal. Count 2 is amended as solicitation to commit custodial interference. So instead of being custodial interference, it's now amended to solicitation of to commit custodial interference. That's kind of like conspiracy instead of actually killing somebody. And an undesignated felony and domestic violence offense. The date of offense is 10/23/2023 and is considered non-dangerous, non-repetitive. And it is ordered accepting the plea and setting the time for sentencing on 5/28/2024 at 9:15 a.m. before Judge Bruce R. Cohen. So, next month we will know the sentence of Spring Thibaudeau for kidnapping her son in order to take him to Alaska and train him to be a Davidic servant to bring in the end times. Tell you, wackadoodles. So, and then there is a discussion held regarding defendant's motion to modify release conditions. It is ordered setting bond in the amount of $100,000 with electronic monitoring. Defendant is permitted to have contact with her husband, Ben Thibaudeau, and her son, Blaze Thibaudeau, including permission to reside together. Considering they're divorced, I don't know if they'll want to reside together. These conditions may be modified upon the request of Ben, whether for his own benefit or on behalf of the minor child Blaze. All other terms and conditions are affirmed, and it is further ordered exonerating bond of $400,000 to the posting party. And I have no idea what exonerating bonds are, so I will have to do some research on that. Defendant is directed to appear at all scheduled court hearings and advised of the potential consequences should he or she fail to appear. So, May 28th, we have the sentencing of Spring Thibaudeau in the kidnapping. Well, we don't have a charge of kidnapping unless that's the unspecified felony. In the solicitation for custodial interference. So, I did, however, learn how to look up court minutes. So I can now look up court minutes in Arizona. By the way, while I was looking for the state for Spring Thibaudeau, I found out that Spring Thibaudeau and Lori Vallow Daybell are currently residing in the same jail. On the same floor, no less. Unless, of course, Spring got out on bond, given this last thing. So, we're in Arizona. We're going to jump over Utah and go back to Idaho. So last week, Brian Kohberger's defense argued that the state needs to make up its mind whether things are being done under seal or not under seal. And they were trying to decide whether the next several sessions would be under seal, because there is currently a non-disbursement order, commonly referred to as a gag order. And Kohberger's defense is claiming that there is evidence missing because they have not been given it. The question is, did the evidence even exist? And I'm thinking, with Brian being a criminology student and working on a doctorate, he understands the processes that should be in place. But think of your job. What's the truth between the documented process and what you really do? Given the complaints about the way police behave, is there the possibility that the evidence that Kohberger's defense is asking for doesn't really exist? That people cut corners and didn't do those forms? Or, I didn't take notes of I didn't take notes because I knew I had my body cam. Or I didn't have body cam footage because I was taking notes. I mean, in the Daybell trial, we've learned that there are not enough working body cams to go around the county that Daybell was in. We've heard times of, oh yeah, I've got a body cam, but the battery was charging. Oh yeah, I've got a body cam, but it's broken. Has been for 6 months. Yeah, when we get the budget to fix it, we will. So sometimes evidence doesn't exist. The judge and the defense have admitted that it is quite possible the prosecution was unable to get the evidence they're requesting from the FBI. I know that some of it has to do with the genealogy search, and the defense has made claims saying that the law enforcement accessed databases they should not have been allowed to access in order to find Kohberger. But they can't determine that because search notes don't exist or are not there. So we have to remind ourselves, Brian Kohberger is a criminology student. He is also innocent until proven guilty. He has presented an alibi of being out driving around in areas where cell phone reception is not always available, which is why his cell phone was off the grid. He claims he was in areas where it wasn't there. Either that or he turned it off. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. A lot of people are saying, oh, will Kohberger go to trial next summer? I think there will be enough delays that Kohberger is not going to go to trial until 2028, 2030. I think with hearing how much evidence there is to go through, I think it's going to get delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. So, now let's swing down to the other murder case going on in the area. We've been busy, haven't we? Kouri Richens, our favorite walk the dog lady. The one who fixed her husband a Moscow mule. Who claims her husband overdosed on fentanyl, but there was no fentanyl found at the scene. Except for in his stomach. In fact, that brings the question. She says, oh, well, I fixed him a Moscow mule. But there was no Moscow mule glass. There was no fentanyl found in any of the glasses. But Eric must have poisoned himself. Oh, it must have been in the THC gummy he took. Okay, first off, there was no THC gummy found in his stomach. So anyway, there's just so many holes in her story. And if there was no fentanyl in a glass, but he must have put it in the Moscow mule I made him. Where's the Moscow mule glass? Where'd the glass go? Who knows? Anyway, May 15th is currently scheduled for a preliminary hearing for Kouri Richens. Whether we actually have the preliminary hearing or whether it gets moved, we don't know yet. And last time we talked about Ann Lorenzo, who tomorrow's the 8th. Thursday, Ann Lorenzo will be arraigned. Well, no, not arraigned. He has a hearing for motions regarding his 10 felony charges regarding 9 different hit-and-run victims. There are possibly more victims, but the first documented victim that he is being charged for was a woman who was known to him on August 22nd, 2023. Witnesses saw him drive towards her, hit her, get out and try and drag her into his car, telling everyone, I just want her back in the car. I want her back in the car. However, they took her to the hospital instead. But he has had at least 9 different victims since August 22nd until he was arrested. And even though witnesses saw the car, got the plate number, and the victim knew who he was, the police felt they did not have enough evidence until March of 2024, when a doorbell cam saw him swerve to hit a jogger between some garbage cans. So this man has 10 felony charges in 2 separate counties. He's in Salt Lake County and again in Wasatch County. Wasatch County, where Kouri Richens is charged. And May 9th, we'll see how this starts to shake out. And then I thought I was all done with the true crime for this week. Well, for this month. And then over the weekend, Sergeant Billy Dean Hooser, whose daughter's wedding is coming up real quick this month, was hit and killed by a semi-truck when he responded to a call. The call that he was responding to was someone standing on the back of a semi-truck trailer. The person arrested is Michael Aaron Jane, a 42-year-old man with a driver's license out of Indiana. It is unclear if Jane was actually the driver of the truck or was the man standing on the trailer. The way the accident is described is that Officer Hooser had stopped, and I'm not sure if it's Hooser or Hooser. It's Hooser. The sergeant had stopped the semi-truck, was out of his vehicle when Michael Aaron Jane got into the semi-truck cab and hit Officer Hooser, hit Officer Hooser's Santaquin police vehicle, and hit a Utah Highway Patrol vehicle. He then left the truck, which was kind of stuck because he hit 2 police cars, ran on foot, stole a Ford F-150, and was later captured in Vernal, Utah, hiding in the bed of the truck. Mr. Jane has an Indiana driver's license and currently has warrants in Kansas. So, after Utah gets him for killing a police officer, okay, innocent until proven guilty. After Utah tries him for the death of the police officer, I'm sure Kansas will want him back. And who knows, he may have charges in Indiana. I don't want to leave on a bad note. So, Stitch and Crime, I got caught by clickbait. And I'm going to put clickbait in, I'm going to put that same clickbait in the title of this video. So let's see. Let me tell you why I fell for this clickbait. The headline reads, "Wife stabbed husband with squirrel." Would you click on that? I clicked on that. So, I did not notice at the time that this was originally filed December 28th, 2013, and was updated December 2nd, 2021. A South Carolina woman, so this is not a Utah case, was held on a domestic abuse charge for allegedly stabbing her common-law husband with a decorative ceramic squirrel when he came home late on Christmas Eve without any beer. The woman, Helen Ann Williams, 44, of an address on Clifton Street in North Charleston, was in the Charleston County Jail on $10,000 cash bond, jail records showed on Friday. She faces a hearing in Charleston County Circuit Court in April on a felony charge of domestic violence of a highly aggravated nature. According to the police report, Williams' 41-year-old husband set out to buy some beer late Tuesday night, Christmas Eve, but he returned home empty-handed because the stores were closed because it's Christmas Eve. That enraged Williams, according to the report, and as her husband set about making himself a sandwich, hey, at least she wasn't making the sandwich, she picked up the ceramic squirrel and conked him over the head with it. She then stabbed him in the chest with it multiple times. The man fled to a neighbor's home to call 911, and when officers arrived shortly after midnight on Christmas Day, they found him covered in blood with cuts to his shoulder and face. When he took off his shirt, they found a large gash on his chest. Initially, Williams tried to persuade police that her husband had fallen, but officers were skeptical because she also had blood on her clothes and her hands. William's husband was treated at a local hospital for non-life-threatening wounds. The condition of the squirrel was not reported. So there's your clickbait story of the month. Woman stabs husband with squirrel. By the way, in case you didn't notice, our shirt today is from Athena Spore, Stitching Goddess. It is the cross stitcher shirt. You can always order from Athena by clicking on the link in the description below, or you can search her on Instagram. But that's a wrap for this month, folks. Thank you for listening through the stitching and listening through the crime if you're here. If not, see y'all next month. This is Stasha. Have a fun mania. Remember, patterns are just a place to start, and this is your art. Go for it.